Coming up is an episode featuring Allie Hiller. She went from preschool teacher to health coach. She is the creator of HealthyAlibi. You won't want to miss it. My guest today, certified health coach, creator of HealthyAlibi. She helps people of all ages, shapes, and genders find their fittest, healthiest self from inside out. I am obsessed with her. I love following her stories, her Instagram. She's like a breath of fresh air. Welcome, Allie Hiller.
Thank you, Wendy. I'm so excited to be here. Thank you for having me.
Well, before we talk about your journey, okay, and how I found you and everything else, the funniest story is after I had found you, I'm like watching your cute stories and, you know, you're talking about your new baby and David. And I go, oh my God, her sister, Lindsay, is your sister.
Yeah,
and so,
she's my sister.
Yes, I was like, oh my God, I had no idea because about a year ago, a publicist called me and said, oh, I'd like you to go into the city, do an interview. We met at Acme. I go, Acme, the grocery store? And she's like, no, it's the dating site. I texted my niece. I go, do you? She goes, oh my God, we all follow her. So I went in the city and I had dinner at an event with your sister. Little did I know it was your sister at the time I started following you. And then I'm like, wait a second, I know her. And then it all came together. So that's the little 360 circle.
Yeah, that's so funny. People often don't realize we're sisters. And then when they connected, they're like, I guess they resemble each other a little bit. But yeah, we don't have that many she's such a good podcaster. I'm like a grandma over here, Wendy.
No, I'm the grandma with you. Don't worry. I understand. So your journey, you went from being a preschool teacher to 6 and 7 year olds, teaching them. You went from that to a health coach to a wellness blogger. And tell us how your journey all began. And I find it to be just fascinating.
Thank you. So I was actually teaching preschool kids. So they were between the ages of 2 and 4. And I basically, graduated college thinking I was going to be a teacher. I was going for my master's. I was working in the city at a preschool that I love. And basically I'd always on this side, in high school, I was super athletic. I was, on the I was just a very athletic person. I loved being physical and, eating well. And I got to college and I really lost myself. I was like, who am I? I was not working out at all. I was discovering, I was not, overprotected in high school, but I just wasn't I just didn't really have an interest in experimenting. So I got to college, did my experiments. And then after college, I was working as a teacher and I was rediscovering who I was with fitness and health. And then when I got diagnosed with celiac disease was really where I I lost myself to find myself, I guess you could say. I had no idea how to eat for this new diagnosis. And I was so confused. I was overcompensating by eating, pasta, gluten-free and rice and all these things. I was like, okay, I can eat gluten-free. I just can eat a lot more now because I'm gluten-free. But I actually ended up gaining 15 pounds in the process of this diagnosis and just this losing myself because I was always a huge eater. I still am huge on the carbs because I worked out so hard. So then I started basically, gaining a lot of weight and figuring, okay, this isn't working. And I was teaching at the time and I was like, okay, I'm going to the gym. I was going to the gym before work and sometimes after work. I was loving, just challenging my body in that way, but I wasn't feeling good about, not only my body, but mentally. So I started a health coach program called IIN, Nutrition School, and I learned about the dynamics of the food that I was eating, which I never had an interest in really before my diagnosis of celiac disease. So when I finally started learning about the nutrients behind the food, the vegetables, the grains, dairy, and every single kind of, when you break down the food, and then I started eating properly, I just became super lean at the time. So I was ripped at this time. Took me years to get there, years. but I had like a six pack, and that was when kind of Healthy Alibi was born. I was, finally understanding food, fitness, how to apply this to myself, and people were asking me questions every time I would go to the gym or go to a fitness class. So I just was like, should I just start, a blog where I can reach like a larger audience, and help more than just one person that I see. So this was always on the side of my teaching career at the time. And then I basically just started doing it full time when I was, I had met my husband so we were dating a couple years, and I just, I was starting to make some good money. So I left teaching, and then I kind of pursued this, and that was a very risky career move. But this was like before, I feel like, the blogger, before the Instagram, before Instagram became what it currently is in terms of business. So this was like 5-6 years ago. And yeah, so that's basically where now I'm, pregnant with my second, and fast
I
forward.
know. Congratulations. You're adorable. You're adorable.
Thank you.
If you just tuned, I'm talking to Allie Hiller. She's a holistic health coach. Her journey into health and wellness began about 5 or 6 years ago. So basically, did you not feel good? Is that how you discovered you had celiac after your endoscopy and blood tests and all that? Or were you just going to about your normal day, and how did that all come about?
I didn't feel good for a year. I didn't feel good for an entire year. I was getting acid reflux. Terrible acid reflux, to the point where I had to go see a gastro, and they gave me the endoscopy, and I was like, this can't be right. I'm getting a second opinion. There's no way I have celiac disease. And the second opinion was like, you full blown have celiac disease.
It's amazing the difference you can feel. I know a lot of people now. I never heard that word before, or knew anything about it until one of my dear friend's son was diagnosed with it. And it changes your whole life, eating. But
Completely.
There's so much out there, so much information out there to make you feel better. I was struggling with like my gut for like a few years. And, I had kids that were going to college, and my father was sick and then passed away. God bless him. And everything was going on, but I couldn't deal with my stomach. And so I went to a gastro doctor, and I found out that I had something in my gut, and it was all due to dairy. So I don't have any dairy. And within no time, I was down like 15 pounds just in my gut area. Yeah. It was crazy.
It's amazing how diet can really, there are certain things that changing your diet can actually completely heal.
It's amazing. That's when I started following you. I started following everything healthy, because I do a lot of gluten free. I do, all dairy free now. I really don't miss it. And when I try to substitute, it's just not the same, like the cheeses. I mean, I found some,
totally.
But it's when you feel so much better, it's life changing.
Oh my God, completely. Yeah. I mean, it was life altering for me. I was like known in college as the girl who was like by my roommates, always in the bathroom. I mean, it's a tough life when you don't feel good and you don't know why.
And now they look at you and they go, oh my God, 2 kids later.
Right. They're just like, wow, she figured it out.
Yeah, the life's journey led you to this. And there was a reason. Obviously, you have celiac. So now you help everybody else, and you have this amazing Instagram following and this blog, and you have recipes up there and the coaching, and it's Healthy Alibi. Everybody should follow you, because I just think you're so different from everybody else. You're just so humble and easy to follow and relatable, very relatable.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
So was it hard to leave teaching, or everything just happened so organically?
It was so organic, and honestly, I loved teaching, but I was getting such baby fever. I just had such baby fever. I love the kids so much. Like, I literally love them like they were my own children. But it just was so organic. It was, even my coworkers, no one was surprised. My director, they were so supportive, and it became like such a family. It was such a small preschool that it was such an organic change, and it was so the right decision for me. When you find your path in life, it becomes so clear immediately, and you just know things kind of just fall into place. For me, I was like 28 or 29 when this finally, started falling into place for me. So it's like, I get so many messages from young girls in their 20s, early 20s, mid 20s, like, how did how did you start this blog? How did you? It took so long. It was not an overnight thing. This was such a long process, and things in your life kind of happen and then lead you and guide you in the direction of where you are kind of meant to be and supposed to be. So that's what I always tell them.
So how do you manage when you have a little boy, you have a baby on the way, a husband? How do you, is everybody like dairy free? Does everybody follow the celiac, gluten free, all that stuff? Or is it just you? And how do you manage all that?
Yeah. So I call myself like wife of the year because I literally make a separate meal right now for my husband and my son, because I don't want, if you're not gluten-free or celiac and you eat gluten-free all the time, it actually has a negative effect on you.
Oh, interesting.
So it's really important to make sure that you eat, if you're not gluten-free, if you don't have those things. If a lot of people do have a sensitivity or an intolerance, and that's a different thing. But my husband and my son, they don't, and so I don't want them to eat, the way I have to eat. It's not a terrible, like, I'll make fish and vegetables, and like if I'm making a carb, like pasta for them, pasta for me, it's just it's not really that much more work. But I really don't want to enforce that on them. But I do organically make, a protein, some vegetables, rice, things like that, where we could all eat together as a family.
Right. Because it's not, I know my girlfriend, she has 4 kids and a husband, and it's, she has to cook this way for this one. This one's dairy free. This one has celiac. So it's like it's a lot.
It could be very hard. Your
Instagram, your baby boy, your husband, how do you carve out your day for yourself to stay healthy? Sometimes it's not easy. I know I had kids back to back. My kids are 12 and a half months apart, now grown in college,
wow.
But it was like Siamese twins, and little time for me, if none.
Yeah. I mean, it is very hard, and I find myself like with the mom guilt most of the time.
Yeah.
But luckily we're in the suburbs now at my in-laws for this reason, because I was kind of, I was unable to work, while I had my baby. Just unfortunately, David, he's a wild boy, he's 15 months old. He needs every,
he's on the move.
Exactly. So I needed help. I didn't have help in the city at all. So we came out to the suburbs. It's been like life altering, and my mother-in-law is incredibly helpful. So she helps me out when I have to work, and it's been really great. I just need to figure out more of a long-term solution.
Right. Do you think so during COVID, so you're pregnant, you're in the city, you have a baby, you're in COVID. Were you really on lockdown?
Oh my God, it was intense, It was a little nerve-wracking for me. Like, I never had anxiety before becoming a mom, but throw COVID onto, the
hormones, new mom.
And it was exactly hormones, new mom, COVID. It was intense. And, it was nerve-wracking. You don't want to get your family sick, so you don't want to see them. And at the time we didn't, in March, we just didn't know anything. Now I think we know a little bit more, and I do think that as, time progresses, hopefully, there'll be some more solutions. But for people with kids, this is a hard time, I think, for everybody.
Yes, I agree. It's not, I say that all the time. I say, thank God my kids are grown and in college. I mean, I was lucky that I got to have them here with me during COVID, when we were really on lockdown. But that was like the silver lining of the whole thing, time that you normally wouldn't have with them. Not that they, they didn't mind being here, but obviously they want to be in college. But,
totally.
I think we all just slowed down a little bit, took a different approach, a different look at life. And, life is short and delicate, and we just have to be happy every day. And what's the biggest takeaway from all of this, from this journey that you've been on, from preschool teacher? And I apologize. I don't know why I said 6 to 7 year olds. I had preschool here, littler ones, but
no worries.
What's the biggest takeaway from this journey when you were figuring it, especially when you were figuring it all out? Like, like you said at the beginning, here I am, I'm, teaching, and I'm going to the gym before and after, and then this diagnosis. What do you think's the takeaway from it? The biggest one?
I would say follow your passion.